Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rustic Spirit Podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Lee.
I'm Gary Lee.
We're so happy you're here with us tonight. I have a very interesting guest tonight. If you love history, you're going to love what's going on. Let me give a shout out to who's in our audience right now. We have Kevin. Hello, Kevin. Thanks for joining us. And just leave, you can comment any questions or anything throughout the show, and I will put them up here for us to talk about. So let's do some housework. I need to go do housework anyway, but that's probably what's on my mind. Amy's on here. Hi guys. How you doing, Amy? Nice to see you again. Long time no see. I just spent the weekend with Amy. So tonight we have just some little things we got to go over. I still am accepting sponsorship opportunities. We currently have 2 sponsors. We would like to have 2 more for the show. It is $60 a month, no contract. I will create an ad for you to put up in our little intro, and then I will also post 3 times a month in our social pages with videos or pictures highlighting your event, your team, your brand, whatever's kind of going on. If you have any special events, stuff like that. So reach out to me if that's something you're interested in. And then up next is the Halloween Boo Bash at the 1912 Historic Hoover House. It is going to be a really good time. We do a little bash there every year. I'll be offering psychic readings and some healings from 7 to 11. Actually, the party is from 7 to 11, but I will be offering from 1 to 7. I would like to be part of the party, so I will be ending after that. I am almost booked up, so if you are interested, please reach out to me so I can get you on my schedule for that day. And, this already happened. We're going to get rid of that. This weekend, Central PA Tattoo and Horror Expo is happening at the Windham Hotel, the Penn Harris Windham Hotel in Camp Hill, PA. There's going to be tattoos and horror celebrities and oddities vendors. So come out and check us out. I will be there and have my stand. And we still have t-shirts and hoodies. We have long sleeve tees, short sleeve tees, and hoodies available in the shop. You can go to the Etsy shop or you can order directly from me. I do have some in stock. And then, so we have 2 now adorable French dog pups from our sponsor that is on the hunt for their forever homes. This one found their home, so no longer available. So we still have Chrissy, I believe. Shauna, if you're in the comments and I got the name wrong, please let me know. This is Chrissy. She is still available. And then we have Jack. Jack is so cute. Go on their Facebook Live page. It's called Shauna and Danielle. And see their Facebook Lives of these puppies playing around. They're really starting to grow up. They're really starting to get curious. They are so cute. They'll be ready October 30th. They'll have all their shots to 8 weeks. They're wormed, microchipped, their health certificate, a goodie bag, and starter food and baby book. They also will deliver to reasonable locations with just the gas mileage, extra gas mileage. And then up next year is the main Paranormal and Horror Con. We've had Jeff and Ashley on a couple times, and they are the organizers of this event. It is going to be amazing. Please go over to that page and give them a like as well. I believe they're giving a ticket giveaway right now. So if you go over there and like their page and share, you can win tickets to the event. So tonight, let's welcome our guest, Adam Shefts. I hope I'm saying that name wrong because I have dyslexia and I always say things and I see him nodding in the background. He is the Victorian historian. He is just an amazing person. I met him. So kind, so caring, always caring about other people. But he's just so intelligent and has so much information. He has written, you have his 3 books are up here. History's Haunted Headlines. It kind of walks us through the rise of spiritualism in the late 19th century. He is a former paranormal investigator, and he kind of turned paranormal historical researcher and author. He grew up in Connecticut. He began investigating there, forming his own team, the Northeast Paranormal Investigations Society, and then continued investigating when he relocated to Gettysburg. But then in 2019, he kind of reinvented himself as the Victorian historian. There's no one quite like him. He has these entertaining programs on the strange, unusual, and comical side of the America's 19th and early 20th century. So let's bring him on without further ado. Welcome, Adam, to, oh, let me get rid of this other thing. I have to do one thing at a time. Remove this from stage. There we go. Welcome, Adam. Thanks for coming on today. We're so glad to have you.
Oh, I'm doing well. Thank you both for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's great to talk to you both again. It's been a while, so I'm glad to be able to catch up with you on here.
So Sadie says hello, and then Michael says, "Do you have any songs?" Asking for a friend. Ring the bell.
Chrissy
it
and
is
Jack.
Time to ring the bell. Yes, Chrissy and Jack. So I got the names correct. Jenny Davis. Hey friends, can't wait to see you in just over a week. And oh my, okay, Jenny must be responding to Michael's comment. So tell us, I know I just gave a little intro about who you are. Tell us in your words, who are you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, my name is Adam Shefts, of course, as you introduced me. And I do go by the Victorian Historian. That's kind of the program I created, but it also doubles as my performance name, I guess you can say. But before that, yes, I was born and grew up in Connecticut. And in about the mid 2000s, right about the time I would say ghost hunters became popular on TV, I became interested in the paranormal from the aspect of what is there to be afraid of exactly. I never had any interesting experience that I can speak of growing up. I didn't know anyone that had any interesting experiences growing up, but I know that a lot of people were afraid of what they don't understand, and a lot of people don't understand spirits and the paranormal in general. So that's what got me interested in what is there exactly to be afraid of. I ended up joining a paranormal investigations team in Connecticut. Now, this team did private residence cases, and they also did some exorcisms as well. I didn't partake in the exorcisms, but I did investigate some of the private residence locations. And that team ended up folding about 2 years into my being involved with them. And I decided, you know what? I find this field fascinating, but I really love history. So I kind of want to steer the investigation more toward the historical side rather than the private residence side. And that's what I did. So I made connections, or I founded my own team in 2009, Northeast Paranormal Investigations Society. And I made contacts with historical societies all across Connecticut. I made contacts with some in New York, and we investigated their properties. And then afterward, we would hold public presentations on our findings. And not just from the location that we investigated, but from all the evidence that we collected that was substantial from other locations that we investigated. So the program was probably about like an hour, maybe a little over an hour. And the ticket funds that came in, the money that was received from ticket funds, we gave back to the Historical Society for renovation purposes of their properties or just program funding. So it was kind of, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. You let us investigate your properties. We'll help you fund these programs and property renovations. So now, about 2016, I want to say, my friends and I would take annual trips to Gettysburg, but then one by one, they started getting married and having families of their own, and they could no longer travel the way they once could. But I still wanted to go to Gettysburg, so I figured I'm going to keep visiting myself alone, or I'm just going to get a job transfer and move. And that's what I did. I got a job transfer. I moved a month later, and I had an apartment in Gettysburg from 2017 through mid 2020, and then bought my house in Abbottstown in 2020. And I'm close enough to Gettysburg, about 20 minutes away, that I'm always there. I'm
Yeah.
still always there. And I
I'm
know
about
you love
20 more
Gettysburg as
minutes
well.
than you are. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
outside of Dover. So I know
Okay.
Abbottstown. I have to drive through Abbottstown to get to
Yeah.
Gettysburg. But yeah, I was going to ask that how you ended up in Gettysburg. Like, that's my heart and soul. That's like,
Yeah.
that is, I feel like that's my hometown, even though I do live 40 minutes away.
Mhm.
But I'm there all the time as well. That's where we
Yeah.
met, is in Gettysburg.
Absolutely.
So that's really cool. So you're not one of those, like, a lot of people get into the paranormal world because they've had an experience as a child or a young adult or lost someone or some reason. Yours was more of just curiosity, like,
Just
and
just simply
yeah.
curiosity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever been scared? I know you said, like, a lot of people are scared of some of these things. But have you ever
Uh
been scared in investigating?
I wouldn't say I've had a scary experience. I've had an unsettling experience. So the team that I started off with, that I was with for 2 years, that did the exorcisms, during one interview that the founder did with a homeowner who claimed that she was being possessed, it was my job to set up the equipment in the bedroom upstairs where she had most of her experiences. So I set up the bedroom as the team founder was downstairs in the kitchen interviewing her about what she's experiencing, um, uh, what's going on in the house. And as I'm setting up the equipment upstairs, I walk into the bedroom and my legs feel like jelly. And have you ever had that experience where you're around something negative and your body reacts sort of that way?
He just had
Yeah,
one a couple weeks
I just
ago.
had
First time
one for the
ever.
first
Yes.
time ever. It wasn't
Mhm.
that.
Oh,
It was
His
different.
stomach, and yeah,
It was
okay,
like I
yeah.
was gonna
dizziness.
pass out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that too. Yeah, no, I had the queasy feeling also, just like you did. And so I stepped out of the room momentarily and everything went away. All the feelings went away. I
You're on your
stepped back.
iPhone.
I'm sorry?
You just had a bubble come up. Like, you must be on your iPhone.
Oh
When you
yeah,
do
I am.
certain
I need
things
to.
with your hands, you get those little
Oh really?
avatar things. Did you
If
see
I do
that?
a
You didn't
thumbs
see
up,
it.
will it come up? No?
I don't know.
It's not
There's
during. All
other
right.
things you can do. You did something like this, and, like, I don't know. Pam does it to me all the time in chats. But anyway, sorry. I just
I need to get a new laptop. The camera on my laptop is horrible, so I have to use my iPhone until I get a laptop. So I apologize for any bubbles that might be coming up. But and I saw that too. I saw that thumbs up. I'm like, who's doing that? I didn't realize that
Did
was
you do
me.
it? Go like that again. Did it work? Like, I don't know what.
I
Okay,
don't know.
it's random. It's definitely random. I've seen it a
Yeah.
couple times with people. Okay, we're off topic. That's the ring the bell to get back on
Yeah.
topic.
But
Anyway,
yeah,
your
so
experience.
yeah, so I stepped out of the room, everything went away, all the feelings went away. I stepped back in and that feeling came back. The legs feeling like jelly, the stomach feeling queasy. I stepped out of the room again, it was fine. I stepped back in the room a third time and everything was fine again. But now when I went downstairs, now that same feeling was downstairs. So whatever was there was traveling, throughout the house. So that was an unsettling experience. Another one happened in Gettysburg. I'm sure you have experiences in Gettysburg as well, but this was
Oh yeah.
probably 2014, I want to say 2014,
Okay.
and I visited Gettysburg with five friends, and basically it was
Okay.
it was five females, five males. I'm sorry, six. Yeah, there's six of us all together, three females, three males, um, and we're taking a ghost tour that takes you on the middle school battlefield, or that's where it ends. So at the end of the ghost tour, we're walking off the battlefield, and something hits all six of us from behind simultaneously. Just a rush of energy hits all of us. We all lose our balance. We kind of all fall forward a little bit. The five of them recovered very quickly. Uh, I felt very off for the next 4 days. I felt agitated. I felt angry. I didn't want to do anything with my friends. I had to force myself to go out and do
Hmm.
something with them. And you know me, that's not me. I'm a
That's not
very,
you at all.
yeah, I'm a very
I
low
can't even
key,
imagine
just
you ever angry. Like,
yeah, yeah. And so I was, it really affected me. It lasted 4 days, but each day that feeling dissipated. It got a little less each day until finally on the fourth day, I felt back to myself. But it was an amazing experience. One I don't really want to have again because, it really messed me up energetically. But it was a really interesting experience to have.
yeah, and um, correct me if I'm wrong. The middle school is not far from the Farnsworth and the Witness Tree, correct? Or is that
Correct.
the high
And
school?
from that
Oh, that's both of them.
is I don't know. No, the ferns
Where
were I
Mr.
mean, I'm
G's
sorry,
ice
the ferns
cream
were
is.
I'm sorry?
Mr. G's ice
That's where the
cream,
Whitney
that
Yes,
Street
road
is.
back there.
that's the middle school. Yeah, that's the middle
Okay,
school.
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And from what I understand, there might be some historians who can correct me on this if I'm not right, but the middle school is where some vicious fighting occurred during the Battle of Gettysburg. I believe it was
Yeah.
uh
That's
the
the stories we
The
heard.
Wolverines were it was I forgot, the Louisiana Wolverines, I believe.
It was a militia, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I
Yeah.
think they were. I believe they were vicious fighters. If they got their arm or leg blown off, they would use their own limb as a weapon. So that's just what I heard. I don't know if that's lore or I don't know if that's fact, but that's just a
Mm-hmm.
story I heard. But from what I understand, there was vicious fighting back there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, other than what you just told us, is there something that happened that you can't explain that's like, wow, that was unusual, but there's no articulated proof that was a spirit? Like, is there something really, really weird that like you've ever encountered?
There's been quite
Other
a
than maybe
few.
what you just talked about.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, there's so many experiences I've had while investigating that I can't
I mean,
prove
it
to
could be as
anyone
like an
other than.
historian, like something you went into a house or something. It was like, whoa, what was that? You know what I mean? You knew it was something, but you can't explain it. You like
Yeah,
spirits, we can explain most of the time.
Are you asking like if it's more than just a spirit, like
No, no,
elemental
no,
type stuff,
no.
or
Yeah, it could be like
yeah,
something really like off the wall.
especially if you
Like
work with a
off the
team who
wall
did
that was like, wow,
exorcisms.
like I can't explain that, but yet I think that just
I don't
happened,
think I don't think I've had any experience that really blew my mind like that. That really confused me. I mean, there's so much in this field that we can't explain.
No, yeah.
I'm sure all of us have experiences that we just can't explain. We can't put
Mm-hmm.
any identification to it. But as far as something that just
Shauna says, "Get
completely.
your glasses."
Squinty eyes. I know. I was waiting.
Sorry,
I knew that
Shauna's
was.
coming in with
I
the
know it was
squinty
that.
eyes and the glasses for Gary because
Yeah,
he towards the end of the night, like she's putting eyeballs up.
I knew that was
Oh,
something. I fucking knew that was what it was about. The squinty eyes. Yeah, I knew
yeah,
that's what
but
it was about, Shauna.
yeah, but to answer your
It's a
question, I
text. I'm
really.
like, nope, squinty eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah,
Go
but
ahead.
no, that's right. But to answer your question, I really don't have an experience that really threw me for a loop that I can't explain. I mean, you know, shadows. You see shadows. There's shadows.
How about like
EVP.
really bad? Anything bad? Like I had. Stacy said I had my first experience the other week. Like I was ready to like go down, and somebody said, "Are you okay?" And I went, "No."
Well, I think what he
And I
just
had to get out of
explained was
that
like
room.
that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like he was
I guess it
physically
could be.
ill, for
Yeah,
the
Okay.
first one, and then that second
Yeah.
one, yeah.
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 Um, I had same thing with Gettysburg when I first. I'm going to get at a question here, but when I first started going to Gettysburg, I would get physically ill on my way out of town. Like I would get a horrible, horrible headache. And then I would get one on my way into town every time I would go. And I'm like, but I felt like I had to be there. So it was almost like a calling to come to Gettysburg. Is
Mhm.
that kind of how you feel like, and that's how what led you to be there?
Yeah, and it's interesting because so many people each year visit Gettysburg, but the
Mhm.
town only pulls a few people in to want to move there. So what is that energetic draw? Is it something, is it a previous experience we had in a past life that draws us to that town?
Past life.
Mhm.
What is it that just draws certain people? Because we all love the history of the town. Everyone who visits it, that's why they come here, for the history of
Mhm.
it. And the ghost tours, I guess, but the history of it. But
You go
then
on.
the town, but then some people go home and they're fine
Your foot
staying home.
door
They don't
lock.
have to visit again.
Maybe.
And then
No,
other
door's
people are
locked.
just drawn to
I'll
it.
give her 5 seconds.
And so that's what happened with you. That's what happened with me. That's what happened with so many others that I know. They were just drawn to the
Yeah.
town.
I agree. I believe that. I actually, when I just did that recent filming, that part of that was to look into genealogy and stuff like that. And they actually found a link for me in Gettysburg or with the Civil War. Not sure if he was in Gettysburg or not. Like there was no proof of that, but like it's in my purse. That was something that like, yeah, I do think that I do really do believe like us that are there frequently or like my goal is to want to move there. I want to retire to Gettysburg. Like who wants to retire to Gettysburg? We want to go to Florida
that was mine. I think
and
it's
stuff
past
like
lives.
that. But I do. I think there's an energetic
Draw,
connection to certain
yeah.
people that you get there and you kind of get stuck. And you're one of them. And then it's funny how Gettysburg is actually a very small town.
It is.
Everybody kind of knows everyone. Like in the winter when there's like no one there, like we all know each other. Like it's actually a very small town. But it's definitely has a energy that I'm hooked to. Even Taryn is the same way. Taryn Kerper, her, she comes and like it's just you have to keep coming back. Absolutely. So
Yeah.
So I also want to bring up like, or I also want to ask like, you started paranormal investigating, turned historian. Where does the love of history is that like? Did you go to school for history or is it just a love? Is there people in your family that kind of pass these things down? Where did that love of history come from?
Well, believe it or not, I had no interest in history growing up. My first trip to Gettysburg, actually, I was in my teens, and I had no interest in the history. And the history just kind of grew on me. When I got into my 20s, I became a little more interested in the history of just history in general. And then in my 30s, it really blossomed. And now in my 40s, it's just like taken off. It's like it's a huge part of my life now. But but where is it going with this? Yeah, so I've just
Like, how did you do the switch, the history?
yeah. So when well, as I mentioned, I investigated, but when I moved to
Shauna.
Gettysburg, I'm still interested in investigating. He's got the googly eyes on. But I didn't really know what teams to join. There were so many teams out there. Should I start my own team again? I decided, you know what? I'm gonna take this in a different direction. History is really my first love. So I'm gonna create this program. And in fact, it started at the Tilly Pierce house. I happened to be new in town. It was the 4th of July, or this is the July reenactments. I walked into the Tilly Pierce, and there was a tea party going on. And the tea party was uh, it was enjoyed by women in period clothing, and all their husbands were out on the battlefield doing the reenactment. The women didn't want to do the reenactment; they weren't really interested in the reenacting. Um, so I overheard as I was in the Tilly Pierce house, I overheard one woman saying to another, "I wish there was something else for us to do here who aren't interested in the Civil War." And that got me thinking, well, I'd love to do a program on the weird and unusual and comical side of America's 19th and early 20th century. That's my area of interest in this time period. So it kind of gave me a little, idea to start something. So I put a program together, and it's full of live demonstrations and parlor games and parlor tricks. That's audience interactive. I share rare audio, rare video. I tell stories. It's about an hour and change program on just everything weird, unusual, and comical in America's 19th and early 20th century. And it's gone over
I've actually
very
never
well.
seen your entire show.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm not
I've
doing
seen
any
bits and
around here.
pieces,
Yeah.
but
I'm gonna
yeah,
have to set something up in Gettysburg. I'm gonna have
yeah,
to set something up in
yeah.
town.
Or
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
we'll do something at the Hoover House together. Maybe we
Okay.
can set something up
Yeah.
there and do something. We'll be in
Yeah, I mean
contact about
that's
that. But
yeah,
yeah.
I mean I'd love to see the Hoover House anyway. I've never been there. I'd love to see it.
Oh, well, we got to get you to the Hoover House then.
Yeah.
Talk about history. There's a lot of really cool history there too. And
Yeah.
it kind of goes right along with that rise of spiritualism era that you're kind of talking about. And
Mm.
so you're not just an author. You give programs
Yes.
to whether it be at like locations like Ghost City or at Tilly Pierce or I don't know if you've ever done anything at the Farnsworth or any of those like little locations within Gettysburg, but you also do private parties, right? Is that
Yep.
did I read that correctly?
Yep. 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 Private events. I've done. I do events for museums, schools, hotels. I've done a couple restaurants. Like a dinner and show type event.
Hmm.
And I enjoy it a lot. It's a lot of fun. It really is.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's and it's like, why hire a clown when you can hire Adam?
Yeah, yeah, and you know what? There's comedy in there. There's humor. So
Mhm.
that's your clown side of it, I guess. But
Yeah, and you're usually dressed in Victorian garb. I have this up here
yes,
to
Yeah.
here. You're usually, I
yep.
know, I actually don't think I've ever really seen you in plain clothes besides right now.
Okay,
I
yeah,
think it's
yeah.
the first time I've seen
I don't
you
think many
in.
people have.
Actually, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I
Every
I,
time
I
I
thought
see
you were
these
going to
guys,
come in period garb.
Victoria. Yeah.
I was like, oh wow, he's wearing a sweatshirt.
Yeah, I almost did. I almost came in period garb because I was already dressed. I was doing I filmed a, promo today at the Jenny Wade House for my event this
So you were
weekend.
like, oh, let's get the shit
Mhm.
off.
Yeah, and I was like, you
Let's
know what?
get
Should I keep this
comfortable.
on? Yeah, I was like, should I keep it on for the podcast or should I? I don't know, but maybe I
Let's
should have
get
kept it on.
comfortable. Yeah.
No, it's fine.
Yeah,
No,
And
you're good.
it looks
It's
like
all
you're
good.
in your house, which looks very Victorian.
it is.
Um,
Yep,
you have a very
yep,
Victorian setup in your home.
yeah. My house was built in 1878, and every room is
Wow.
decorated in everything Victorian. All the furniture, all the decorations, everything. So yeah,
I love it. Oh, I just
yeah.
love it.
Thank you.
That Victorian era is so fascinating to me. Like it's romantic, but it's that rise of what in one aspect we got more intelligent, in one aspect we kind of went down a little bit. Um, so that's kind of what you write about in the books that you have featured here that I have up on here. Um, History's haunted headlines. These aren't the only books, and you have other books as well.
I
Um,
do.
you
Yes.
These are books that I've read a couple of them. I think I've read 1 and 2, and they are books that have basically headlines from there's each has a timeline. Those
Mhm.
timelines of things spiritual or paranormal, headlines that would pop up. But you also give a little like background history of that rise of spiritualism.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, and
Talk a
just
little
to
bit
cover
about
the
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, that.
sure. And just to cover the books that that you showed just now, those are accounts, not necessarily ghost stories, but they're reported to be true accounts that people had during the 19th century. And if and as you know, spiritualism was huge back then. There was a big spiritual movement. If anyone
Mhm.
had any experience, or they thought that they saw something or they heard something, they would go find a reporter, and the reporter would publish these
Mhm.
accounts in newspapers nationwide. So each book, and I'm working on volume 4 right now, each book has hundreds of accounts, of reported accounts that people had and went to a reporter and told them about. So these are really all new ghost stories, if you will, even though they're mostly accounts, all new ghost stories never heard or read by anyone living today since they were first published well over a century ago. And I'm bringing
And
them back
Wow.
did you like go into the newspapers and look for these? Is that how you did your research?
Yeah, so I subscribe to newspapers.com,
Okay.
and I fall into all kinds of rabbit holes. I mean, I love that.
No,
I love those archives.
I know. Oh, it's horrible. You can
Oh,
spend,
it's
and then you're like, oh no, it's 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, by the time you know it, hours have gone by.
I
But I
know.
forgot what I was looking for. But I came across a ghost story or an account of a haunting somebody had, and I was reading this. I'm like, this is really interesting. I wonder how many other accounts are like this. So I typed in keywords and I typed in years and locations, and it came up with so much stuff. I'm like, I need to go on Amazon and see if any books like this exist right now because I would love to read books like this. And so I went on Amazon and there were none. So I'm like, you
Yeah.
know what? That's it. I'm going to create it. So I'm working on the series now.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
But
awesome.
cool.
Like I have a couple of little clips up here that I picked out that I just loved. Tuesday, February 25th, and I'm going to call it Waukesha, Democrat, page 2, Waukesha, Wisconsin. The ghosts are evidently determined to make their demonstrations in this region in spite of skepticism and opposition. A venerable citizen of this place has been much startled by mysterious noises and invites investigation. So just reading that alone, despite skepticism and opposition, the ghosts are still there. So
Yeah.
it's like
Mhm.
he's almost contradicting himself in that. Like, so if you don't believe in ghosts, then you wouldn't be saying that they're determined to make their demonstrations in the region. I loved that. That just stood out to me because of that. And then another one, and I'm doing my best. I know we practiced these before we
Yeah.
came on. And
Yeah, the antiquated
old
terminology.
English is a little different.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just read the last one because I love that one. Tuesday, June 7th, the Daily Examiner, page 1, San Francisco, California. A Maine's youth courtship is embittered by the fact that his lady's love residence is haunted and the ghosts make it lively for him every time he calls. That is just there's just certain ones I read and I just laugh. And then there was one that I think I read, like the poem of the about witchcraft or something, and kind of against a lot of this spiritualism, but they're fascinating. Like, you must have done like hours and hours of digging to find these.
It takes a lot of time. It's a labor of love, though, so I don't mind it. And the thing is, I don't lean one way or another with these books. So I put reports of reportedly true hauntings and ghost encounters, but then I also include things that skeptics print. Like there's one skeptic, and I don't remember which volume it's in or what year it covers, but a skeptic writes that people who are believers in the paranormal are stupid, basically, that they're idiots.
Mhm.
Something along the lines of um, it's idiotic for a ghost to rap on a table to announce its
Yeah.
presence, but it takes someone
Mhm.
equally as idiotic to determine what it's trying to say. It's so I put everything in the books. I don't lean one way or another. Um, but most of these accounts in the books are reported to be real. I don't claim them to be real. I don't claim them to be unreal. I'm just sharing them as they were shared throughout history.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's so cool. So, in your opinion, I know there's lots of different theories on this rise of spiritualism. Definitely, the popularity. I'm not going to say rise of some of the talents and gifts that happened, because back to ancient times, there's always been seers and soothsayers and shamans and stuff like that. But this rise that happened of spiritualism in the late 19th century kind of happened with the Fox sisters. But
Mm.
do you believe that they created this rise, or do you think it was kind of happening underneath?
I think it was happening underneath, but they really got the ball rolling for the modern spiritualist movement. So basically, their story begins in 1848. It's Maggie, Kate, and Leah
Mhm.
Fox, and I have their picture here. I'm sure many
I know. I,
people,
I couldn't figure out how to get the picture from the book up here. Yes. Okay.
yeah.
There we go.
So So they are the three Fox sisters, and how they started, they grew up in Rochester, New York. They had a small house. The house is gone today, but there is a marker of where the house once stood. They would play pranks on their mother. They would make knocking sounds. They would roll things across the floor, and the mother would come upstairs and say, "What is this racket? What are you doing?" And they're like, "We're not doing anything. It's not us." So they got their mother to believe that there really was something happening in the home. But then the Fox sisters said, "You know what? Maybe we actually have abilities. Let's try to seriously investigate spirits and see if we can
And they were
communicate with them."
teenagers, like 14 to 18, right?
Maggie was 15, Kate was 11, and Leah, the oldest, was 35 at the time.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Ooh.
Um, but so they invented two methods of investigating the paranormal.
Mhm.
One of them was table tipping, which I'm sure people are familiar with.
I've actually
Um,
done myself. I have that
Mhm.
on my notes to talk about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never experienced it before. I think it would be really cool to
We
to
do it at the
experience
Hoover
it.
House.
Oh,
That's
do you
why
really?
you need to come and do your program there, and then we do a table tipping session, and it
Yeah.
just all kind of, Pam, if you're on, we need to talk to Adam and get him booked there. Anyway, yeah.
I'm in. Yeah, absolutely. And then the other one was they would take a sheet of paper and they would write the alphabet on it, either vertically or horizontally. And then they would take either their finger or a pencil and go letter by letter. So what they would do is they would ask if a spirit was present to make a knocking sound. And if they got a knocking sound, then they would know something is present. So now let's find out the name of the spirit. Let's say, for the sake of this demonstration, his name is Dave. So they're going to take the alphabet on paper, they're going to take their finger or a pencil and go letter by letter over A, over B,
Mhm.
over C. Now they're over D, and there's a knocking sound. So, okay, name begins with a D. Back to the beginning. They get a knock sound on the A. Okay, DA. Now they go to the end of the alphabet. They get all the way to the end. There's a knocking sound for V. And they keep doing that until it spells the name Dave. So now they know that they're talking to somebody named Dave. They also do this with numbers. One through, I forgot what they numbered it, but it was basically they would run their finger or pencil down numbers. And then that way they could figure out the age of the spirit that they're communicating with, or what year that spirit passed away, or the person
Mhm.
passed away.
Yeah.
Um,
How old they were or what year they passed away. Yeah.
yeah,
Depending on who
yeah.
you're asking. Yeah.
So they became internationally famous doing this. They were
Mhm.
covered by major newspapers of the time. They performed in major theaters across the country. They performed over in England. I mean, they were some of the first like international celebrities, really. But Leah, the oldest one, she was greedy. She was a bit greedy. She wanted to keep most of the finances to herself. Whatever money the sisters brought in, she wanted a majority of that because she was the oldest sister.
She was the oldest,
So
and she's like, yeah.
yeah, so twice she did that. She took in the money. She was responsible for handling the money, and then she would divide the money equally. She was supposed to divide it equally to the other sisters, but she always kept more for herself. So this happened for a third time in 1888. And the other two sisters, Maggie and Kate, they were fed up. They were done with this. So they decided, instead of fighting with Leah again and just circling around and around again, they're gonna ruin Leah's career by, during a public presentation, they're going to go up on stage and they're going to admit that they are not real mediums and that they've been communicating with spirits, and making the knocking sounds by simply cracking their toes. They could crack their toes on command.
Mhm.
Now, by throwing Leah under the bus this way, they also shot themselves in the foot and ruined their own careers
Yeah.
because they all worked together. So they admitted that they themselves, Maggie and
Mhm.
Kate, along with Leah, were basically frauds.
Yeah.
Um, so
They became
now
the biggest
they're so now
frauds
they're
in
uh,
history. Yeah. Like the
yeah.
biggest
So
frauds in that mediumship history.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. At that time, that was big news for them to be found out like that. So yes, their reputation had been ruined. Although they did still do private parties. They didn't really do public events so much anymore, but they were still a big enough name that they were now more of a novelty.
Mhm.
And they were invited to wealthy homes to do private seances. But even though their reputation was ruined, they got the ball rolling for the spiritual movement, and it took off. It took off so
Mhm.
quickly, and so much so that by the 1870s, being a spiritualist was considered an unofficial religion. You could
Yeah.
say, someone could ask you, "What religion are you?" You could say, "I'm spiritualist," and that was an unofficial religion. But yeah, and
Yeah.
then and
They just
then
brought that into the world. Yeah.
yeah, and then spirituality, the interest in spirituality just continued blowing up through the late 19th century,
Mhm.
and there's so
Yeah.
many stories, so much to cover, and I find it fascinating.
There is. And we were talking before the show began about that podcast lore, and
Mhm.
there's a lot on that podcast. There's true crime, there's all kind, but he does talk a lot about. He's got a couple different episodes on the spiritualism, and one is he does talk about the Fox sisters, but there's a Mary Roth as well. Have you heard of her
No,
before?
haven't heard of her.
So,
No.
No.
Mary Roth it's episode 50 on lore, so go check it out. Um, and Mary Roth was similar age, and I forget the year, and I'm not very good at like remembering facts and details, but she had a seizure and they said that, like in this seizure, they said she could speak to spirits and have like there was like this thing like with mediumship with her.
Mhm.
She passed away, and then someone I forget that I don't think I wrote the name down. Someone else like in the neighborhood ended up like coming in to talk to the family at one point, and ended up like her body was like a more channeling, like Mary's Roth's body was possessing this other person through seizures and kind of coming to the family and talking to the family and giving information that no one else could know. So it was kind of like that evidence of this spiritual or this mediumship and being able to channel spirits. But look
Yeah,
her up; that's pretty cool.
that triggers a memory. I may have heard that story, but I forgot it if I did hear it. But I don't
Yeah,
recognize the name, but
think
the
I've
story
heard that stuff.
itself sounds interesting. It sounds familiar.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was really good. Episode 50, lore. Definitely go check that out. It was really
I'll
good.
check that out.
Um,
Absolutely.
but I wanted to bring up the table tipping because the way you're describing, I was taught table tipping at the Hoover House by Steve and Jim, and um, that's kind of the same way we do table tipping is through going through the alphabet, but instead of like a knock, you're waiting for a knock when you point to a letter, you're waiting for the table to move when you get to a letter. We'll say A, B, we'll go through the alphabet and wait for the table to move. Um, Same thing with the numbers and kind of do the same thing. It's very similar,
Mhm.
but definitely relates to something else that was created in 1890 in Baltimore, Maryland. So, do you feel like the rise of the Fox sisters and what the Fox sisters was doing helped create the talking board, the Ouija board?
I think they had a huge part, a huge influence in that. They were pretty much the original communicators
Mhm.
with spirits. So I think everything. I mean, even everything that any team is involved with today with investigating. I mean, you could trace it all back to the Fox sisters. They were
I
the
think you
first
can.
ones to investigate. Mm,
I
yeah.
believe. I 100% believe that. Like the more I researched them, the more I looked into it. And I, like I said earlier, I'm not
Or
saying that
investigate on record.
like on record,
On
but
record.
we're
Yeah.
talking like the investigation, the
Yeah.
rise, the popularity of it.
Mhm.
Because I mean, ancient history talks about people who were able to communicate with spirits. I think
Mhm.
there's even some in the Bible. There's a witch in the Bible that communicate with spirits, and you got shamans and medicine men. Like this has been a topic or been a since the dawn of time. Ghosts have haunted the human psyche since the dawn of time. But the rise of the popularity began with the Fox
With those,
sisters
yeah.
and the showcasing of it, and the thing, the kind of what we do now and all these events that we do, and we showcase and have a medium. And Taryn is here. We talked about you earlier, Taryn. You weren't here.
Me,
He
Taryn.
loves your books, and we do all these events, but there's also like still that stigma, like, is this medium real? Is this medium faking it? Because there's you probably have a lot of historical facts about the Fox sisters, but there's still a lot of speculation. Like, were they real?
Yes.
Was it a hoax? Which one was it?
Mhm.
And so we still get that today. And I
Oh, of
think that's
course. Of
where
course. Yeah.
that's what rose up. It wasn't just the ability to do it. It was more of the popularity of bringing it into the public and not just privately in homes.
Yeah, and speaking of that, speaking privately in homes, people during the
Taryn, I'm
1850s.
sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. Taryn is totally fangirling right now.
Okay. Taryn's great.
Yeah,
She's great.
she is great.
Yeah.
She is great.
But families in the 1850s, they wanted haunted houses. They wanted to live in a haunted house. I actually have in volume one.
Don't we still want that? I know I want that. I want like I'm buying my house. I gotta find the most haunted.
So on where is it? Do I have it here? Oh yeah, here it is. Okay. So on March 10th, 1857, the New York Times printed an ad in the paper. Someone actually submitted an ad to the New York Times wanting a haunted house. And it goes, wanted by a skeptical family. A house said to be haunted, which may be had at a low rent. either in town or country, if within reasonable distance of this city, meaning New York City. And then it gives the address, the box number to contact them.
Yeah.
So people were actually looking for haunted houses, and there's more examples in these books of it. Um, but
What city was that?
New York City.
Oh,
New
New
York
York.
City, yep, yep.
So why do you think people were looking for the haunted house? Because it was cool, because it was something like
Well,
or
it was a skeptical family, and there were a lot of organizations around this time, 1850s, 1860s, even upwards of the 1880s, that wanted to disprove that spirits existed. It was organizations made up of scientists and like-minded individuals, and they wanted to rent these houses or purchase them
okay.
to be able to investigate these houses every night and prove that ghosts don't exist. If anything happened, they wanted to try to debunk it. Um, I have a few actually accounts of those organizations during investigations, and they were never able to debunk anything. Never
Mhm.
able to debunk
And
it.
it's funny how
So
we teeter between that world of never being able to debunk it, but never being able to prove it.
Mhm.
It
yeah,
teeters because now we still do the same exact thing. People are
oh
buying
yeah,
locations and bringing people over but now we want to find this information more, whereas it seemed like in the past we wanted to debunk it. Now we want to like prove it, but we
yeah.
still just kind of teeter in between. Like, is it real? Is it not?
And I think it's always going to be that way. It doesn't matter how scientific the instruments become that we use in the
Mhm.
field. There's always going to be that teetering of believers
I agree.
versus
Yeah.
skeptics. So
Mhm.
yeah.
It is.
Uh,
And I think until you have an experience like one like you had, even in that, you can't necessarily 100% like, oh, a spirit caused me to be ill or a spirit caused my emotions to kind of go off. We can assume and speculate, but we still don't have the definitive proof that, oh, yeah, this spirit did this to me. I mean, we can say, yeah, my skeleton the other day just flew off the table and fell on the floor, but I don't know. I have mice in my house. Did the mice like
mm,
crawl through the skeleton and make it fall over? So it's hard to get proof, even with
mm,
our modern scientific equipment. And I think it's about belief yourself. Like, are you a believer? Or are you a skeptic?
mm,
Or you lie
yeah.
somewhere in between it. And which are you? Are you believer, skeptic, or in between?
I guess I would be a skeptical believer. Like I've had experiences. I know that spirits exist. I've investigated for 11 years. I've had experiences. I've captured evidence. Um, so I do believe. I do believe. On the other hand, I come at it from like a scientific mindset. I want to try to explain something first and foremost. So I guess that's where the skeptic comes in. But then if I can't explain it, then yeah, it could be something. So I'm not a complete skeptic at all. I'm definitely a believer, but I'm also, I take that skeptical approach in the beginning until I can't prove something, and then yeah. But
Yeah. And I think like you need both. You need me, like, I'm jumping in, like, oh, yeah, that's a spirit, but, with my skills and with, as I connect more to spirit, I'm able to kind of
Yeah.
pick up on that. But you are more of a
I
skeptic
think I
sometimes.
was no, I was kind of like what you say, but I was probably in my early 20s, and like I just seen something flat as day, and I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah. Then that just this total skepticism went out, and then
Gary saw an
so
apparition, a full body apparition.
oh
oh
really?
yeah,
Have
and,
you
and
ever
that's
have you ever seen anything
and
like that?
after that,
No, I
now I
haven't.
see them. I see them every once in a while, not all the time, but I see them every once in a while.
Yeah, I've seen full-bodied shadows, but not apparitions.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh no, I've probably more than five
At least that
times.
you
I've
know
seen
of.
full body. Some are dark, some are like that person just standing there with the color and everything. It's
Mhm.
yeah,
Sometimes you
okay.
walk down the streets of Gettysburg and you see something like, is that someone in period clothing or is that
Most of
real?
mine are out of Gettysburg, like the full
Mhm.
body color. darker shadow, some them and get, but most of my like full color is out of Gettysburg. Most
Okay.
of them.
So they look just like you or I, like not transparent, just solid.
Yeah, I've seen that a couple times, and it was not in
Mhm.
Gettysburg. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've never
Interesting.
seen that. I see shadows like you. I more
And then
can
I've
hear
seen like
spirits
the
and talk to
darker
them.
shadows, some of them in Gettysburg and some out, but my most colorful, like looking at you, was out of Gettysburg.
Mhm.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I've never seen an apparition.
Yeah.
Never seen. Yeah.
One was here, one was
I've seen the
not
shadows of them.
here.
Like you'll be in a haunted location and it's dark and you'll see, like we went to in Waverly Hills, we went down to the body shoots and you saw eyes and you saw the eyes climb up the wall and you saw something down there. Like I have video of it too. And it's like, but it's still just a shadow, you
Mhm.
know, it was still just a shadow. So it's
Yeah.
hard, it's easy to kind of second guess, like, okay, maybe I didn't really see that. Um, or is it just, what's the term for it?
Uh.
When we make something, like when we see make shapes out of things, paranoia, that's not right. um
Oh. Is it like like a matrixing, sort of like that?
no, hold on, let's see. I'm gonna try to that's not it. I forget the term for it, but it's like, we like, our brain likes to make order out of chaos, scientific.
Yes.
I study the brain, like that's what my first love is, studying the brain. So I'm a science at heart. I have scientific background at heart too. And our brain is fascinating.
It really
But
is.
paranoia, I don't think that's right. Someone please tell me what's right there. Um, where we can look at something and like go look at the clouds and you can see a shape in the clouds, right? Like
Mhm.
you've done that. We've all done that.
Yeah.
That's what our brains try to do. They try to make shapes and that are familiar to us. And
Mhm.
sometimes are we looking at these things and they just are our brain trying to make sense of it when it's really nothing.
I'd have to
Yeah.
say the ones that I say that I've actually seen was not brain
No.
chaos.
I don't think if you've
They're
seen a full body
yeah.
apparition, that's a little
Yeah,
different.
yeah,
Mhm.
But I'm talking about the shadows that we see in
yeah.
the dark,
Like there's ones in the dark. I'm like, yeah, I ain't talking about them. But the ones I'm talking about,
Mhm.
it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
no,
There it is.
that was legit.
Pareidolia.
Oh, okay.
Totally.
Pareidolia. There we go. I knew it was something. I had it close.
It had to be Kevin, of course.
Pareidolia.
Way to go, Kevin.
Now
Good
they're all
job.
saying it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you. Pareidolia. That's a function of the brain.
Mhm.
But we're speaking of Gettysburg. We're speaking about the spiritualism. Like some believe that the Civil War helped bring a rise. Like not Fox sisters definitely kind of brought it to the forefront, but they kind of brought a rise because of the hundreds of thousands of men dying away from home, like no body, no closure. They had gave them no chance to speak to them before they died, so they would
Mhm.
enlist mediums to try to speak and have last words and closure.
Yeah, and I
You know,
actually, yeah,
you have
yeah.
stuff
Oh,
on that
sorry.
too, right? Go ahead. You have
Yeah,
stuff in the books on that.
yeah, I actually cover some of that. So I found some stories, some articles that I included in my book. And so, yeah, prior to the Civil War, there was what was called a good death. You died at home, surrounded by loved ones. You got to say your final goodbyes. Now the
Mhm.
Civil War comes, young men are dying on the battlefields.
Young.
There's no more good death. You're not around your family. There's no final goodbye. You die where you fell. So in fact, during the Civil War, there was a lack of ghost stories. So and there was an article about this I came across from, I believe, sometime in the 1870s. I included it in my book, but um, saying how there was so much death during the Civil War that people were greeted with death in newspapers every day during the battle, that they
Mhm.
didn't want to read ghost stories. They were faced with enough death in their own personal lives. They didn't want to read ghost stories. But now, as you mentioned, the Civil War ends. Now we're heading into the 1870s. Families, of course, are still mourning their loved ones. And now mediumship rises. I mean, there's an explosion of mediums coming out across the country, and a lot of them are not legitimate. They're only in it for the money. You know, they
Mm.
go to people's houses and charge them to communicate with their deceased loved ones.
Astronomical amount.
Yeah, but then some were legitimate. Some, went to people's homes and didn't charge anything.
Yeah.
They actually wanted to help the families find
Mhm.
comfort. Um, but and so so ghost stories did rise again after the Civil War. It's just there was a lack of it during the war. People just didn't want to read about it.
Yeah, because there was so much death going
Mhm.
around. Like
Yeah,
it just wasn't something. But
yeah,
yeah, it kind of rose afterwards. Yeah, mediumship in general, like, is definitely a very skeptical topic. There is, you know, I 100% believe that it's real. Like there are real mediums. I
well,
am one of them. I'm able to.
you have the ability, right? You have the gift.
I do. I do.
Yeah.
I have the gift. I don't hone on it as much as others do. I'm more, a tarot reader, and then things come through for me, and I'm able to pick up things in certain when I'm in certain locations, and I'm able to kind of, um, you know, connect in ways. But I have a lot of protections around me, so it's. I think if I opened myself up more, I probably could, but I don't want to. And part of that comes from being like there's so much opposition, but so much fakeness as well. Like there's some who are real. I have talked to mediums that I 100% believe, and then there's some I talk to that I'm like, you're doing this for money.
Mhm.
It's hard. It's hard to determine who's real and who's not.
I gotta
Yeah.
I gotta agree with Judy,
Okay,
where she
so
said
this must
it's
be a
not
relative.
wasn't
That's my
scary,
mom. Yeah, that's my mom.
Who's
more
your
Hi,
mom?
mom.
more peaceful. I agree with that because when I seen the full bodies, it wasn't scary. It was peaceful. It was
So
like,
she said she's seen an apparition once. A friend's
yeah,
son who passed. I thought it was dreaming, but it was wide awake, and my dog was growling. Lasted for about 10 seconds, but wasn't scary. More like
it
peaceful.
was. When I seen my full bodies, it was like peaceful, and it wasn't even family.
Yeah,
It was like not scary. No,
yeah. I don't
I
think they
agree.
come to us to scare us.
No,
So, um, Ashley, says it does come in many forms. I do believe mediumship does come in many different forms and styles, but
hmm
there are a lot, like even to this day, that are I wouldn't personally trust.
Mhm.
You
There
know,
was actually, if I can find it here. Yeah. So in 1888, there was a gentleman named Henry Guy Carleton, and he was a journalist and playwright and a skeptic. And he didn't believe in mediumship. He didn't really believe in spiritualism. And he offered a financial reward to anyone who could prove to him that they are a legitimate medium. So he issued a public challenge in New York. He issued a public challenge which appeared in New York newspapers, and this challenge consists of 11 rules that mediums have to follow in order to win this prize money. And I can go through some of them. There's 11 of them, but some of them are pretty interesting. Um,
okay.
for instance, rule number one: if any slate writing, they used to use slates to write on, if any slate writing is to be done, the slate must be kept in full view and the medium's hands, feet, and other features carefully watched. Um, Number two: if spooks can write under a table, they can write above it. Writing under a table may be more wonderful, but writing in full view will satisfy me and should be just the same to the spooks.
I've heard this story. This story was on lore.
Oh, was it really?
Lore talk. Yes. Go ahead. Keep going. But
Okay.
yeah.
So let me skip ahead to some. If any spook personally acquainted with me wishes to introduce himself, he must write upon two slates held in full view his name, age, weight, and condition, together with a statement of the incidents which happened last time we were together, whether full or otherwise. This was my favorite, number five. Materialization of fruit, flowers, pie, etc. must take place in the open air as a guarantee of good faith, and I must be allowed to squirt pepper sauce into the eyes of any apparition of whose spiritual nature I may have doubts. Can you imagine that? But
Because now
yeah,
it
so
seems like you're almost getting into illusionists and
yes,
magicians. Like there's a
yes,
crossover there. Like obviously illusionists, it's an illusion.
yeah.
It's not magic. They're not magically sawing someone in half. Like,
And there
yeah.
were actually brothers in the 1860s.
Hmm.
I don't have their name off the top of my head,
I
but
know
they
who
were
you're talking about.
three.
I think I've heard
Yeah.
that story too.
Oh, here it is. The Davenport brothers.
Okay.
And they would conduct public seances, but they were strictly illusionists. But they would convince audiences to believe that they were actually spiritualists and could move
Hmm.
things on command and have things happen to them. In fact, here are some images.
Okay.
Um, Here are the Davenport brothers right here.
Okay.
Oh, let me-
There you go. Oh, they look like almost twins.
yeah, okay, okay, yeah, they were. And then I
I
think
need
at
to buy
times they.
hard copies of your book. My books are on Kindle. I need autographed hard
Oh,
copies
okay.
of your books. I
Yeah,
need to come get some.
the Kindle version, the images kind of got messed up a little bit, ended
Hmm.
up in wrong
They're good.
places. Yeah, but the hard copies are right. They're good. But here's some illustrations of the Davenport brothers seances, supposed seances.
Hmm. People are floating, flying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but they were strictly illusionists, but came off as spiritualists, and there was a lot of controversy about them at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, because they were. It was a show for them. It was entertainment. They were entertaining.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think we still in this world in our field today, we still have that. We have the ones that entertain, and we have the ones that are doing research.
Mhm.
Um, and to each their own. I don't judge either of them. However you feel you need to, um, be yourself.
Yeah.
So I accept it all. But yeah, it's amazing how like like this just kept growing and growing and growing into what it is today, and we haven't let it go. It just keeps exploding. It keeps going more and more.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder. I mean, we've come so far since
Well,
the beginning.
I think I think too the more society accepted it, the more exploded.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's
Oh
definitely not as
Yeah.
taboo as
I
it
mean
once
that's
was.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, but we've come so far since the beginning of spiritualism. Um, who knows where we're gonna be 50, 100 years from now? We may never see that time when we actually can communicate at will anytime we want with spirits using scientific equipment. The equipment we have now is great. We're
Mhm.
closer to communicating with spirits than probably we ever were. Um, but who's to say? I mean, who knows how more advanced the equipment's going to be? And that
Exactly, and we've yeah,
that
we've caught
veil
the
that
attention. Sorry,
separates.
I keep
Huh?
talking over. Yeah, the veil.
Oh, sorry.
Go
Yeah,
ahead. I think we were about
yeah,
to say the exact same thing. Go ahead.
yeah. No, the veil that separates the living from the deceased may be at its thinnest in the very near future, and maybe one day gone completely. Who knows? I don't know, but
Mhm.
just my just a thought. Just a thought.
Yeah, as a studier of the brain function and neurology, and quantum physics as well, like into that, like we still don't understand the capacity of the brain. We still don't fully understand it, and there is like um what they call Christ consciousness, or there's that apparatus called the God helmet. Like there's certain things I think our brain is capable of, and I think some people are more capable to cross over to different dimensions, realms, whatever you want to call it, to be able to see these spirit worlds. um but I do think that we've caught attention of scientists now.
Mhm. Oh,
There
absolutely,
is some
absolutely.
actual legitimate scientific research happening besides what Davenport, I think he said, no, not Davenport,
Yes.
or the other guy that wanted to test the mediums.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
yeah,
Henry Guy Carlton. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, like he was doing scientific research, but it was more of a test. we are doing research. We're doing MRIs and fMRIs and brain scans and what's happening to our brain when mediums connect. Like, I don't know if you've seen any of those shows on like documentaries on, I don't know what they're on. What do we watch them on? YouTube or Discovery Channel or, something like that. Like, there is like, maybe we are going to break the veil. Maybe we are breaking the veil. Maybe we're using more of our brain than we were. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Time will tell.
Time will
Maybe
tell.
the brain was put on hold not to use them capabilities.
It could be. It could be. Now we're getting into alien stuff where Gary believes that, we definitely are controlled by an outer or another beings off this earth.
No, I didn't say control.
And our brain is, well, not controlled, but our brain isn't. The reason why we can't access all our brains because we're not ready yet. As a society, we're trying to get there. But, that's another theory going on. So we're pretty much over our hour. Sometimes we go to an hour and a half, but I wanted to bring up, there is something going on at Paraunity this year, and that is November 1st and 2nd. You're going to be at Paraunity. You're going to have your own special, you're going to have your own showcase room, right? When we come and we see you, you're not going to be with the vendors. You're going to have your own little room. Yeah. And you are doing Experience the Paranormal like a Victorian. I don't want to give anything away because I want people to come out and see the show. There and but what can you give us a little tidbit?
Yeah, absolutely.
What that's about?
Yeah, so it's November 2nd and 3rd, the New Jersey Paraunity Expo. And basically what my exhibit room is going to be is I'm going to be able to let people try to see spirits for exactly as people during the 19th century saw them at home for entertainment, using the same methods. Yeah, using the same equipment, the same methods. I'll show you how to do it. You'll be able to try it right there yourself. I'm going to have demonstrations. Be doing demonstrations that you can see. I'm also going to have on easels around the room really interesting pieces of history that are some are included in my book. Like for instance, John Wilkes Booth, President Abraham Lincoln's assassin. He came through a seance in, I believe, Chicago one evening in the 1860s. I have the whole transcript of that seance and what John Wilkes Booth supposedly said in his own words as a spirit. So I'm going to have that there that people can read and learn about Lincoln's assassination through supposedly Booth himself. I'm going to have a medium. How do I say it? Basically, it's a challenge. It's a medium challenge. Basically, the challenge that Henry Guy Carleton issued. I'm going to have all 11 challenge points. So you can actually read all 11 points and see if you could qualify at that time to win that money that would have been awarded. There's going to be there's going to be different types of exhibits that you can actually apply to yourself, to your own life, be able to read your own fortune the way fortunes were read in the 19th century. But basically, you're going to be able to see ghosts exactly as they were seen in the 19th century. So you're literally going to be stepping back in time, so to speak. Well, maybe not literally, but figuratively, stepping back in time and being able to step in follow in the shoes of those who went before and experienced ghosts in their home for entertainment. You can now do it yourself. And that's what this exhibit's going to be about.
Amazing.
You can actually experience the paranormal like a Victorian.
I know, and that is so cool. And I know you had one little sneak post on your Facebook with a glass ball.
Yes.
And so I am super excited. I can't, like, you're the first place I'm going to come see when I get there. I'm not vending. I just go to Paraunity to have fun and be with friends and see a lot of different things. So I'm super excited that you're going to be there.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Can't wait to see it.
I did do so. One of the exhibits that's going to be there, I've been doing for a couple of years now. Just this one specific exhibit, and it allows people to see spirits appear right in front of them. And it's kind of funny. I did it at one of my book signings at the Jenny Wade House, and oh no, it was at no, it was at Ghost City Tours actually, and
Okay.
and and it worked with one woman so well that she accused me of doing witchcraft on her. And yeah, she was not happy. She was not happy, but
Yeah.
but it works. It really works. It doesn't last forever. It's but it for that moment you do see a spirit before your eyes,
Is it
and
like the goggles they talk about?
no,
The
nope,
okay.
We
nope. I'm not
can't
gonna give
let
any
him
more. I'm
out.
not gonna
You
give any
have
I
to
more away.
go
know.
see
I'm not
Don't
gonna
give
him.
it
give it
away.
away.
We gotta go. Everybody's
You
gotta go
gotta
see
go
him.
see him.
They gotta go see him at Unity
Yes.
in Woodbridge, New Jersey, on November 1st and November 2nd. It's a 2-day event. It's probably one of the greatest expos I've been to. There's gonna be lots of people there, including Adam. You guys have to go out and check it out. I should have put a graphic up of actual Unity, but if you search Unity, New Jersey, it's in New Jersey, right?
Yes, yeah.
I think it's just their page is just on Facebook. Let's see. Is it
I
just
think it's New
Unity?
Jersey Para Unity Expo, I believe.
Let's see.
And I also will be signing and
New
selling.
Jersey Unity Expo. Yes.
Okay,
Oh, so
and
I
I
can
will
get my
also
books
be
from you there.
yeah, I'll be signing and selling books
Mhm.
there. So yeah, you can see ghosts, and then you can come to my table and get some books.
Okay, that's cool. I'm excited. I'm really excited about that. I think that's probably the most. I mean, I'm excited about it all, but I think the most
Yeah.
thing I'm excited about is coming to see your exhibit. I really am.
Well,
Um,
thank you very much. Very kind.
Let me just look at the chat to see if there's anybody. Ashley says, "Can't wait to see it." Uh, Judy says, "That sounds so awesome." Kevin says, "That will be cool." Um, Sadie did bring up Sadie brought up an issue. Like, hold on, that when we do, it's called mentally ill. She said she was talking about seeing apparitions, hearing things, the mediumship.
Yeah,
There
we
is
talked about
a
that.
tie, and this could be a whole nother hour show, which I probably will talk about one day. But if like in your research, in your studies, like there is we've seen what is the show with what is the movie with Jack Nicholson and One Flew Over His Cuckoo's Nest and
Mhm.
like schizophrenia. I'm a mental health professional. I'm neuropsychology. Like there are times like, are these people who are in these mental hospitals really seeing these things, or is it happening? Is there anything like that in your headlines and in your research that you've seen?
Yes, there is actually.
Okay.
There are some accounts that I came across where people did have what they believed were legitimate experiences, and people had also witnessed these experiences and can back this person up. But this person, they may be eccentric, and
Hmm.
so right away people are already questioning their mental stability, and so of course if they see something, it can't be real because this person's already eccentric. So,
Hmm.
so there was a lot of skepticism toward people about that, but there were actual professional people like lawyers and doctors who could back this person up, saying, "Yes, I saw it too." And now this person who's thought of being mentally ill now is becomes a little more trustworthy. So there are accounts involving that also. Yes.
Yeah, and I think it is, and that's again something we will never know. I mean, I work with those with schizophrenia before, and sometimes I wonder. My theory is that I feel like they're using part of our brains that we don't have, and they don't know how to handle it. And I think that's what Gary and I were getting at to earlier. Like, we're not ready to
We
use
talked
that much
about
of our
that.
brain, and
Mhm.
it kind of like just it makes us. I hate to use the term, makes us go crazy because it's so not politically correct, but it really drives us nuts. Which causes us to be eccentric to begin with, and it kind of all plays in together, but you never know. So
We're all fucking crazy. Just put it that way.
great, you said a cuss
Just
word.
put it
Now I
that way.
gotta
We're all
label this
crazy.
explicit.
Look, I mean,
Well,
this field is fascinating, and if
mhm,
people think I'm crazy because I like it, then you know what? I'm in good company. I really am. So,
exactly. Keep me with
we're
the
all
crazies.
yeah, we're all big para family, and the object is to work together to find, to learn
Hmm.
about this field. We shouldn't be fighting each other. We shouldn't be, trying
No,
to
we
tear each other
shouldn't.
down. We should all be working together, and that's
Hmm.
what this, it's a great para family, and um, yeah, it's
We're all here for the same goal. Well,
yeah, yeah, exactly. So if
yeah,
we're all considered crazy, then hey, like I said, I'm in good company.
Just gonna have to edit out that 1
Yeah.
second.
So thank you, Judy. Said wonderful podcast. Thank you, Stacey and Gary, and great job, Adam. Yes, I agree. Like it is. We need to bring back again para-unity. We need to bring back like we are all here for the same purpose. Some of us are here, for the entertainment purposes, and that's okay. Some of us are here for the research purposes, and that's okay. But it takes two people, or it takes two types of people to build this world. And I think we have groundbreaking things coming up in this field. I really do. It is absolutely amazing. So I don't see any more questions in the chat section. I'm just going through real quick. Any last, how can people find you, Adam? Like I have I'm going to put it up right now. I have your website up on here, your the victorianhistorian.com. And you have Facebook, all this stuff.
Yep. If you go to the Victorian Historian on Facebook, I put some pretty interesting material on that page. I mean, if you like weird and strange and just comical history, this is history that you probably haven't seen anywhere else. But I go down rabbit holes that I sometimes don't expect to go down. And then now I'm interested in learning more about this topic and posting some really strange things, some amazing pictures to go with it. And I think you're gonna find yourself lost for quite a few hours viewing the
And
Victorian
you know
Historian
what?
Facebook page.
I'm just realizing I do not follow that page. I mean, we are friends on Facebook, but I don't follow
Yeah.
your page.
Uh-oh.
So I
Uh-oh.
right now I'm following. I just followed.
Thank you.
This is my type of topic. I love it. I'm so thankful that you came on. I could talk about this type of stuff all night. There's just so much. And as I read more and more of the books, I am going probably to reach out to you or talk to you more about things that I have read.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing. So, and yes, that's a good look, Gary, Ashley says.
If I drove down the road, you think the cops would pull me over?
Probably. So I don't know. The glasses take the cake. You're welcome. But Shauna, who is the comment down here, do you know Holly Cataldo? Do you remember Holly Cataldo? At the bash, the lady,
I do remember a
she
Holly,
did it.
yes.
Yeah.
But
She passed away.
oh, when?
Shauna, we're coming up on a year, and
Oh,
I'm horrible. They did a kind of a
it,
little memorial for Holly at the
yes,
school.
yes. Okay, I never met her, but I
Yeah.
knew the name
Okay.
Holly from that memorial, but I never got a
Mhm.
chance to meet her. No.
Okay. This is her daughter. We are very good friends with them. They are they're actually one of my sponsors. The puppies that you saw earlier, that's their
Mhm.
puppies. And they're
Oh
in the
yeah,
midst
actually, I
of
can see through these.
grabbing obtaining a historical site outside of Johnstown, PA, up in the Alleghenies. And they do lots of great things. But we went up there for an event, and we stayed with them. And they were always making fun of Gary because of squinty eyes. Everybody makes fun of Gary because of squinty eyes. So they have a camper on site where we stayed. We walk into the camper, and like these glasses are laying there, and then a stuffed emotional support fly for me, because that's a whole nother story. But both little like gag type gifts for us. So these are Gary's eyes, so that way he doesn't have to be squinty eye. And that's why Shauna said the glasses take the cake. You're welcome. But as the night goes on, Gary gets sleepy, and he doesn't have very large eyes as it is, and they just, they get squinty. Um, so, all right. So, any last words you have for our audience that you want to end the show with? I mean, I have mine, but anything you want to, anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to say before we get off of here?
I just want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. I mean, I enjoy researching for my programs, for my books, and to be able to share this history, whether it's paranormal or otherwise, and for you to enjoy it as much as it seems everyone does, it makes it that much more meaningful to me to continue the research. So really, thank you everybody for your support and just you know, I'm going to keep doing what I enjoy doing, and I hope you continue enjoy reading what I write.
Yeah, and it is. You write very well. It's just it's a topic that is fascinating and it's different. It's different than something that we're usually come across with historians and stuff like that. You bring that comical and weird side into it, and I love that. So thank you for being on tonight. Gary, do you have
Thank you.
any final last words for
No,
Adam?
thank you. Yeah, thanks for
I
coming on.
appreciate it. And guys, thank you for viewing. We couldn't do this without you. If you weren't on here and in commenting and watching and getting the views each week, I'm getting, hundreds of views and growing every week. And it's because of you guys. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing it out. Thank you for commenting. And the more that you guys all do that, the more this gets pushed out. If you're not following, sorry, if you're not following my Facebook page, please go over and follow my page. If you are not following the YouTube, please go over and follow the YouTube. We are also on all your social media or podcasting apps, whichever one is your favorite. Please go over and give us a follow. We're trying to build on there. I would greatly appreciate it. But perhaps the most important thing I need all of you guys to do is to remember to fill your cup first. You can't pour from that empty cup. Thank you again for viewing, and I hope to see you guys again next week.